Baby, we're back. Thank you for joining us again today at Higher Density Living down here at the studios in Albuquerque. It's nice being here. It feels homey.
Yes.
You know, it feels warm, it's cozy.
I feel like it's just 82 and sunny. Just like perfect. I like it. I like it when it's in the 80s and sunny.
When those train doors open, I felt like the warm air rush in.
Yeah, you took the Roadrunner.
The rail runner.
Santa Fe to Rail Runner. Sorry.
Well, you know, no.
That's the problem. I was trying to find it on the app.
Yeah.
To downtown, and I kept typing in Roadrunner, and it kept sending me to like these different businesses.
Well, you ready for this? This is hilarious. When the train goes to leave a stop, it goes meep meep.
No way.
Every time.
That's so cool.
So they took it right out of the cartoon.
I love it.
And do you know why that sound is in the cartoon? So the original illustrator for Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, when he would walk down the hallways, right, through the offices amongst the other illustrators, if he was going to bump into someone, he'd go, meep, meep.
And
that's
he would
vocalize it, and they ended up actually putting it into the show itself.
Yeah, I was watching the inappropriate World War II Bugs Bunnies and stuff. Now that I think they're like, you can't even have them anymore or whatever. I mean, there's a couple like racial slurs and stuff like that.
I just love the good old Looney Tunes.
I know. Yeah. But the like hanging onto the bomb. And
yeah.
I have that on today, the shirt. Yeah.
Reminds me of Dr. Strangelove. Did you ever see that film?
Yes. Yeah. The old one or the
Dr. Strangelove, Stanley Kubrick?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know when he was filming that movie, the internal B-52 bomber scene, the U.S. government came to him after and they're like, how did you do this? He's like, what? They're like, how did you get something so precise in terms of the plane used in the film? He said, I compiled every single partial shot of aviation photography on this thing from things all over the United States, and I figured out what the entire plane looked like.
That's so wild.
And they're like, that's incredible.
It's just funny how people like they can tap into, and this is what we're going to get into the episode, but they can tap into this pulse, like you say, you call it like a pulse,
impulse.
like a frequency.
Impulse.
You know, whether it's channeling or whatever it may be. You know, like who's the guy that did the horror sci-fi Lovecraft or you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, T.H. Lovecraft.
Yeah, is that his name?
I don't. I feel like that's just like all these guys with these like two
cool
letter
names.
things. You know what I mean?
But he has like cosmic dimensional. You know, I mean, this is like 1920s, wasn't it?
T.H. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, but I mean, wasn't that 1920s? And he's talking about like densities and dimensions and
it's like 1928. Like if you
he's like obviously something's happening there, like bum 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 bum. Some pulse.
Same sort of, and it's the same thing with like Tesla. Tesla's like, I don't know what he sounds like, but I'm assuming it's like, there's going to be a time when people will have these devices where they will communicate across the globe instantaneously, and they'll be able to keep them in their pockets, and they will also be able to video call or like see each other's faces during the conversation.
And it happened.
It's called a fucking cell phone.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
FaceTime on it.
Yeah, and Tesla knew that a long time ago. Or even like the old Star Treks. Like that dude, Gene Roddenberry.
He was probably getting impulses too.
He had to be, because a lot of that stuff has come into existence.
Well, what better place, like, think about it. If you're like an extraterrestrial race, you're like, man, I want to have an impact, but I can't have a physical presence.
In fiction.
Everybody be watching TV.
Yes.
Oh, wow, this is a big show coming up, Star Trek. Let's send some impulses down to the creative directors.
Yeah, that's a great way to do
it.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, I got a great fucking idea. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then people are like, well, why does the UFO on the show look like the ones that are in the sky? Well, because they got the same impulses from probably those peeps.
Yeah, it's like even the whole idea of understanding planetary like travel, and then like warp drive, and just the technical aspects of how he got into the craft,
like ideas of hyperspace
and then understanding like taking it like the Navy, and then having some military type, you could see it, I mean, okay, yeah, here's an admiral, here's
the USS or the SS Enterprise, or
USS Enterprise, and so you just translate it into the sci-fi world, and you bridge that gap, and then next thing you know, we're there,
right?
Like, I imagine 50 years from now we'll be having a USS Enterprise.
Science fiction becomes science fact.
Or at least 100 years from now. I mean, we're going to have interplanetary. I mean, we talked about that on that scale.
You know what we shouldn't do? Yeah, right. On the different
Kajardov scale or
yeah,
something like that.
Something Russian.
Yeah.
Right?
But we're going to be, we have to be interplanetarian.
Right. Yeah. You got to be able to move, transcend the distances.
Yes.
Dude, you know what people shouldn't do? Whoever's listening to this?
Right.
Wetware. Avoid the Neuralink. I know that stuff just got approved for clinical trials. Don't shove that fucking thing in your head.
Well, it turns from let's help people with disabilities, which I get, I mean, like the exoskeletons and stuff like that. It turns into helping people with disabilities. And then it turns into, well, what's going to happen is it's going to be so damn expensive. Only elite are going to have it. Here's the fear with wetware. And then next thing you know, you've got only the 1% of the world wearing wetware and they're getting all this information transmitted. So now you're creating a knowledge gap that is even greater than what we have now. You know what I mean?
But what is it that
like the elitists are?
I'm on their website right now. What is their mission? It is to create a generalized brain interface to restore autonomy to those with unmet medical needs today. So they want to start with the medical issues today, and then tomorrow unlock human potential.
Yeah, exactly.
You want me to shove
internet in your head?
You want me to shove a bunch of tiny fucking needles with algorithms written by people that have absolutely no social understanding, no ideas of creational laws, how things should work, and you want this device to just be
embedded into my brain, yeah.
Literally shoved in my fucking skull.
Well, here's the problem with it too, in that we need to understand this is from a philosophical standpoint, we tend to ignore consciousness
all the time.
So we're more concerned about this mathematical formula or this algorithm or whatever it may be, understanding a quirk, or do we have, this type of new physics program or whatever it may be at MIT. And then none of it is, there's not an underlying umbrella of understanding consciousness when you develop these theories.
No, because when you do that, you know what reminds me of? Do you remember the White Sands incident?
Mm-hmm.
Remember Elon,
mm-hmm.
the extraterrestrial?
Only did like 26 episodes.
Yeah, so. When he was talking to Dr. Daniel Fry down here in Alamogordo, New Mexico, right? White Sands. He said that our technology is shooting off on a branch.
I remember this. Yes.
Okay. If you think
and he had different branches that we should focus on, right?
No, he said you focus on the trunk. He said we are but an ant all the way out on a branch with all these fringe ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But the real root structure support of our evolution is here on the trunk.
Right. And he's talking about wisdom.
And you have to embed
yes,
true understanding of the spirit and its evolution and people amongst one another, and then have that be the foundation for your science. Otherwise, your science is built on just like a huge platform of sand.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No, I get it. Yeah, 100%.
But he says, think about it. You're out there, you're the size of an ant, and there's all of this universe to understand this creation. But what does the ant feel? It feels like it's on the fucking trunk, but it's way out on this little branch.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even close to the center. It's so off base. But the branch looks huge because I'm a tiny ass little ant. And we're like, look how much we know. We're so smart. We completely forgot about the fundamental thing that allows that branch to even exist.
Well, also when you're out on the branch like that, you're just a little tiny ant, but you're also receptive to getting negative impulses.
Absolutely.
So, of course, a service to self entity would be more than happy to give you a pulse on, your ego wants to go this way?
Sure.
We'll make you go 10 times more that way.
We'll give you all that you want.
Yeah.
You want this?
Yeah.
Here you go.
Blow up your whole planet.
Go for it.
Yeah.
And speaking of that,
we went right into it.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it.
So have you seen the new trailers for the Oppenheimer film?
Very excited. So the director is the guy who did all the Batman films, right?
Mm-hmm. Christopher Nolan.
So in this film...
See how I did Alexander, then you correct me with Christopher. Isn't this like a thing?
I don't know what I don't know what's wrong with me,
That's great though.
He
probably wants to be called Christopher.
I don't know why.
Probably doesn't want to be called Chris. If your whole life, if people called me Jay instead of Jason,
yeah,
I'd probably get annoyed.
You would get annoyed.
You know what I mean? People always had nicknames like Big Man and stuff like that. You know? and I don't mind that. I don't mind a nickname or whatever. But I mean, it would probably be annoying. So I get the whole thing.
No, it definitely.
Like maybe he wants to be called Christopher.
Like, don't call me Al.
Yes. Yeah.
That's just not my name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When I think of Al, I think of like a 1960s mafia guy.
Absolutely.
In New Jersey.
Yeah. Or way out in Western New Mexico, and like Big Al runs like an automotive shop.
Yeah. Has a diner.
Yeah, or a diner.
Big Al's diner.
Yeah. And Al could be what? Alan?
Yeah.
Aloysius?
Alexander. Yeah.
Could be Alexander. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Al, that's also old school. Like an old person, I think, would call you Al.
Yeah.
I don't think a new person.
No. Do people ever come up to you in your life and like fuck up your name all the time?
Yes.
Do you know what I always get? Andrew.
You don't look like an Andrew, though.
Not at all.
I mean, I get the whole Alexander thing, but I don't picture you as like an Andrew.
So many people go with Andrew.
Some people do it on purpose, I think.
Yeah.
Because they think it's funny.
It's not.
You know, it's not funny. Then there's a lot of people that don't have emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
It's a form of selfishness. If no one's getting your jokes, then maybe you should like be emotionally intelligent enough to know that you just keep like. And I have to do this too because my brain is so off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm way off. I'm on the spectrum and everything else.
That's true.
I have to be careful what I say around people because people don't understand my motive.
No,
I was so screwed up, you know, in the sense of our jokes were so bad in the military to deal with so much pain,
right? That
doesn't translate.
It
doesn't translate to normal people.
No, it does not. But for me, I know you very well.
Yeah.
I probably know you better than your kids.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. I don't know if that's, I really enjoy it. I've just spent so much time looking at you.
Yeah. Making like, we've had so much, I mean, we work together.
I think
we podcast together.
We have a different level of trust.
And then I'm super introverted. So I see you more than anyone.
Yeah.
Besides my girlfriend, of course. She sees me like a couple hours a day.
Fabulous woman.
She's like, hey, how are you doing? Haven't seen you in a
I'm good. Bye. Close the door.
I do. I close my door sometimes if I'm like, I'm in a meeting.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah, because it's like I just can't handle that, like tons of stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a tactile stimulation, and then people, you know, I've gotten really good at not letting other people's energy affect me.
Yeah.
But I just don't enjoy being around. Like now, if it's something I'm going to, like you shared a thing that we're going to do next Friday after this, it's really cool. That's intriguing to me.
Yeah.
So
I feel like when you're curious, you'll do it even if it's out of your comfort zone.
Or if it's something I respect.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're like, hey, we're going to go meet Elon Musk and go to Tesla. And
sure.
And I'd be like, sure. Or like, I love traveling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though I'm introverted, I love to travel because the outcome of what's going to happen is I'm going to see something new. I'm going to learn new things. I can go to like some architectural site, or I can go to an art museum. So it's worth it to be extroverted then.
Yeah.
Because there's knowledge involved.
This is so weird. You just
learning.
Refreshed a dream I had last night on, I was in the Netherlands.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Are you watching Vikings?
No. It was like modern day Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like in one of the major cities. Yeah. It's all coming back to me right now. Mm-hmm. There was snow though.
Oh, of course.
And there was train stations, a lot of brickwork. I could see the central part of whatever city I was in.
Yeah. It's all perfect over there.
I'd actually be interested to look at some like major city photos to think, was my dream state accurate with what? I've never been to the Netherlands.
Mm-mm.
Have you?
Yeah. Amsterdam, that's in the Netherlands, right?
Yeah.
Is that in the Netherlands?
Yeah.
I've been to Amsterdam, yeah.
So, but I've never been.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck it looks like. I know they ride bikes.
Yeah, and there's bridges and lots of water, lots of snow.
I'm gonna have to.
People are really nice. I like their. I'm not going to go too political here, but I do like parts of. Some of it's scary, some of it's not. Their form of capitalism.
What about it?
Like, for instance, like they have a lot of government housing that has like pools and really nice, and maybe it's the population size. I don't know. But everything. they and then they have different people living in these apartments. So you have to take care of the apartment to treat it really nice and everything else. You can't be like a criminal and all that, of course.
Okay.
But they may have a teacher living next to somebody that's low income. And then, like it's kind of the whole idea of like rising tide lifts all ships.
I love that.
But like, for instance, so I was hearing this last night. This is so interesting in that area. In the Netherlands, they have these beautiful housings that they built to try, because they had a problem with housing, like we're having right now in the United States. We have a major problem with housing. There's not enough of it.
Money's worth
too
less.
Expensive. Yeah,
too many people.
It's we're at the point of people's. It's like 30 to 40% of their income is going towards housing, which is the highest it's ever been.
That's actually fucking true. I mean, for you and me. Like,
so they have it where once you get there. So, like for instance, they were showing this one couple. He's a teacher. She's works for the government or something like that. So good income, but their rent in this nice apartment, they're very nice, is $250 a month.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Someone get me a visa.
So the average housing cost in the Netherlands is 4% of their income.
Really?
Think what that would do to the United States. How much disposable income would you have then?
Plenty. Well, I mean, if there was no federal tax.
And this was in the New York Times article. Yeah. And they were also saying like, hey, all these office buildings that are going to be deserted, and then they're all going to belong to the bank here pretty soon.
Yeah. What's the bank going to do with them?
So why not just convert them into housing and the government step in and help with that? I mean, if we can give billions and billions of dollars to outside foreign entities for the military industrial complex, I'm pretty sure, and the agricultural industrial complex and every other industrial complex that's out there, pharmaceutical industrial complex, I'm pretty sure we can handle helping people with housing.
We can. They're just not going to want to do it.
No, they're not going to think out of the box.
Here's what I think is cool here. And I've been fortunate to connect with some of the power brokers here, actually most of them here in New Mexico.
Right.
And what I found out recently is that New Mexico became the wealthiest state in the United States.
That's crazy.
We recently just added a couple more $1 billion to our sovereign wealth fund because the state of New Mexico produced more oil than Alaska and Texas.
That's so nuts to me. You don't think of it that way.
Well, we don't even see it out here.
Yeah, when you go away, you see all the oil stuff. But
And
we have natural gas too, don't we?
Yeah, we have nat gas. And we just won a grant also from the federal government for setting up a hydrogen transfer center. That's probably going to make Toyota happy. But regardless, they don't know how to spend all that money. So I'm actually pleased to know that I've moved into these circles with these power brokers so that I can hopefully have some moderate amount of influence to drive decision-making for the benefit of people who are currently lacking.
Well, I mean, it's like here, I mean, look, I don't know how it is in Santa Fe, but here in Albuquerque, like the income is low in New Mexico. It's like the third lowest. I think Louisiana and then New Mexico or something like that. So
wild.
And then the housing has in the last 5 years, housing's almost doubled. Like rent. I remember when I first got here like 7 years ago, you could get a nice place for $1,000.
It's all done in California, folks.
You're not touching anything under $2,000.
Nope. Do you remember
So I like doubled your housing doubled in 7 years.
Remember the apartment complex we first lived in?
Yeah, I think that was like,
bro, I was paying like $1,650 for a 3-bedroom.
Yeah, I was paying $1,100.
See?
For a 2-bedroom.
Yeah, like what the fuck? And now if I go back there, it's almost $3,000 a month.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's doubled.
No.
So it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And it's like, why haven't these politicians helped?
Because they're politicians.
Exactly. They're for doing industrial complexes.
It's for you and I to do.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it. We'll clean this fucking place up.
I think, well, it's just sad because you look at something like Albuquerque and it just has, and we've talked about this before, but it has so much potential.
The potential.
Santa Fe, I think, is until like all the boomers are gone.
Yeah, once they die out.
Because you have a lot of places that want to, Palo Alto's this way too. They want to keep it, small.
Don't touch it.
They're
don't
like,
change
screw
it.
everybody. I just want my little world to be. And so you have, city council members and stuff like that. They're like, nope. They just say no all the time. Nope.
We have
no expansion.
First of all,
no new people, no nothing.
The roads should be fucking perfect here in the state. I'm talking, they should be straight like, what's that thing called? The Nürburgring?
People don't realize this.
Autobahn.
If you go drive around Rio Rancho
in
Bernalillo, you will drive on a major road and then it just ends.
It shuts off.
And it goes right into the desert. They may have a cone, they may not. You know how many times I've had that happen in Rio Rancho?
They're just like,
just driving and then the road's done.
It's like pavement, gravel, sand.
Yeah.
Like, what are you guys doing over here?
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. I come from Seattle, and it's like, I mean, because Seattle's roads are built on 1960s, 70s when Boeing came in.
Yeah.
They haven't been changed.
No one's changed.
So there's shitloads of traffic in.
We should have
Seattle.
unbelievable train systems here. We should have unbelievable bike paths.
Yes.
We should have unbelievable roads.
How about you open up the train underground that you use for top secret shit? How about you open that up for the public?
Let me get
Elon Musk already had the Boring Company. We've had that for how long?
Yeah, like
has New Mexico. There's a train system underneath the ground. People don't realize that.
Los Alamos saying it goes everywhere.
People could use that.
Bomb over to Washington D.C.
No, it's just so aggravating, bro. And then the decisions that people make. Like, I mean, I live by the university here in Nob Hill.
Yeah,
and then what they did to there's Central, and then they put this new BART system in or whatever, like this. And then now we have tremendous amounts of homeless people right next to the university. Crime has gone through the roof. And now you have all these people at University of New Mexico, these children.
They are children.
And the place that should be around the University of New Mexico should be clubs and bars and art museums and fun things for kids to do. And they should feel safe at 2:00 in the morning to walk around by the university.
Yeah.
It should be student housing. And when you go to college, you want to learn, have knowledge, and have a ton of fun.
Yeah, experience stuff.
Experience. Yeah, that's a key word. Not be afraid for your life. And I've talked to a lot of different people over there, and they're like, have to hold their phone with this emergency button. And they're carrying mace around because, homeless men are like there's like groping incidents happening.
I don't doubt that.
And like the list goes on. And it's like, you put that there.
Yeah.
You had an opportunity. It was naturally and organically building into small businesses, art places, yoga studios, coffee roasteries. It was turning into something cool.
Yeah.
And then you screwed it up.
It's classic.
And spent billions of dollars that did not need to be happening.
It's fucking classic.
If you'd have just left it alone and just let those small businesses thrive.
Let it do its thing.
So you took two major lanes, made it for a bus, and then that bus is just hauling
homeless people
back and forth.
Yeah.
So it's an industrial complex. It's a scam. All this stuff is a scam that these politicians do. And yet we put so much hope in them, and we get so riled up. Dude, I listen to people watch CNN or MSNBC or Fox, and they're yelling at the screen, and they're like, yeah, go Trump, go Biden. Those people do not give anything about you.
This is actually really like that you brought this up. People are career politicians.
We're going to do Einstein and Oppenheimer on the next episode.
No. This transitions really well into it. People are career politicians.
Yes.
They're not experts in a field. They're not scientists in fucking civil engineering. They're people that have just moved through office and then say, this is where, budgetary items should go. And we manage it like this. And I have the idea for solving a problem that's best for my party.
I know it's probably not true, but I get this whole reptilian politician thing. I just picture them being slimy little lizards.
Well, they are. I mean, politicians, they're a tough group.
But don't you think that the smartest people in the world would not be a politician?
Of course. But here's my point. Why do you think the military industrial complex has so much power?
Yeah.
Politicians are dumb.
Yes.
And then you have a group of people that are pure specialists who have their own political power.
Yes.
What do you think they do? They're going to drive it to the hill. What do you think they come up with? Things like the Manhattan Project, underground train systems, bases in the sides of mountains.
I always wanted to be in the room when the guys come in and talk to the new president and be like, I know you think you're cool and stuff.
Yeah.
We've been around for 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years.
Yeah. I just want to tell you that you're a fucking puppet.
Yeah.
And you have no control over the situation.
And there's got to be like the smoking guy in X-Files.
No, it has to be.
Yeah, it's got to be like a guy he's like smoking in the Oval Office on purpose.
Yeah.
Like this
you like walk in there and there's like film on the Oval Office windows.
And everybody's super scared of him.
Yeah.
And no one
don't even talk to him.
This guy will ruin you.
Don't look at him in the fucking eye.
Well, I mean, with artificial intelligence and deep fakes and CIAs, I mean, they could do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They can have you commit suicide. They can implant stuff on your computer.
They can hypnotize you.
I mean, how easy would it be to destroy somebody by putting child pornography on your computer?
So easy. That'd
be so easy to do. And then they have this Pegasus system where they can, just grab everything off your phone so quickly.
I'm glad you're saying that.
Yeah.
It's like the OG X key score.
Yeah. I mean, they don't, now the new one that because Israeli company built out Pegasus, the first one, but the second one, Pegasus 2, that they built out, it doesn't even need you to click on something, because that's how they got the Amazon guy.
Right. You need to get it.
He got a text and then he clicked on it, and then now they had your phone. And that's where they found all the pictures, and his affair and all that stuff. Jeff Bezos, which he looks great now. Have you seen him? He's all jacked now. Type in Jeff Bezos jacked.
Sure it's not a deep fake?
No. Because they got too many pictures of him on his... You should see him on his yacht with his girlfriend.
Yeah, he is pretty
He's
yoked.
spending his money now.
Yeah, he looks pretty yoked.
But I'm just saying...
He's selling fucking books to looking like he's got stem cells shoved in his neck.
Well, that's what he's got. He's got all that stuff. He's got the best of the doctors in the world.
Stem cells are incredible.
Well, it's not just stem cells. It's probably all this longevity stuff too, where they want to live forever.
Yeah.
If you're a billionaire, what else are you going to put your money into? I just want to live forever.
Anti-gravitational craft.
Yeah, but if you're 80 and old and messed up, like maybe you broke your toe or something, you can't even walk.
Well, that's me right now.
I know. I was thinking
Jason's taking a jab because I broke my fucking toe. What? 2 days ago?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It literally sounded like it exploded. And speaking of explosions, can we get into this, please?
Yeah, 26 minutes in.
Yeah, people are going to listen.
Yeah, they'll listen.
They're hustlers here.
Yeah.
There's people that want to learn. So to go back to the military industrial complex, right? You have a bunch of specialists. All right. And these specialists are people that are creating things in the idea of defense, right? But what happens when that defense becomes a thing where you're like, we have created something underneath the auspices of the United States, but now the United States can't tell us what to do because the technology we have as this small group, they can't even compete with.
Right.
You have all the power. The U.S. just funded somebody to become their own black ops operation.
100%.
And become their own powerhouse internally under this huge umbrella of defense for the United States itself. Right? So speaking of New Mexico, I was just coming back from the northern part of the White Sands Missile Range. I was down in Ruidoso.
And I text you. That was the funny part.
Yeah, you texted me the moment I was passing the Trinity test site. You're like, we should do an episode on Einstein and Oppenheimer. And for those of you who are listening, Einstein and Oppenheimer were world-class physicists at the time. Late 20s, early 30s, early 40s, stuff like that. You know who Einstein is, but Oppenheimer is another person who was absolutely, totally influential and one of the key mans in the Manhattan Project itself. Essentially advising on much of the theoretical fission practices that we thought about for the time and actually putting that into a device which could be detonated for what? So you could blow somebody up, right? We had a couple options during that time. We knew that Japan wasn't going to surrender.
Right.
Okay. So after much of the reactor work was done in Chicago, literally in the basement of one of the schools, they had all these lead bricks and shit, and they got a fission reaction to happen. Crazy.
Was there kids above them?
I don't remember.
Or was it a abandoned school? I wonder.
No. It was the University of Chicago. People were actively studying there. So we start figuring all this stuff around nuclear technology, how powerful it can be. And someone has a grand old idea. Well, why don't we put that shit in a bomb? Can we fission more? Can we fission more things quicker? Create a lot of heat, blow stuff up. And if we can do that, we can scare the other side into surrender. That's the whole idea here. You want to get ahead of the other bunch. And we'd already got all these scientists from Operation Paperclip, correct?
Yes.
We did an episode
all the
on
Nazis. Yep.
Right. So you get all this brain power from Central Europe. You drag it over here to the United States. Now, Trinity test site, blowing stuff up. There's a movie coming out. I'm trying to set the framework here for all this. Okay. And the movie's called Oppenheimer, created by and directed by Christopher Nolan, right? Getting back to the first part of this episode. They did the largest ever non-nuclear detonation on film without CGI.
That's so crazy.
Which
so
is
awesome.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Now, the difference between non-nuclear and nuclear is the fact that when you're creating a fission process, you're splitting atoms, which are the foundation blocks of life. What's the impact of something like that? What happens when you're physically pulling matter apart? You're not creating an explosion of just fire where things are just burning. No, you're literally pulling physical material apart at an atomic level. What kind of influence does that have on the planet, upper atmospheres, things in space? What sort of electromagnetic signature gets released that could be damaging to the health of organisms all around this place? I'm asking you.
I think, of course. I mean, you could pull anything apart, and I've seen pictures in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and what it did, and it like imprinted shadows of people onto brick walls, and
yeah,
I mean, it's literally just,
it's horrific.
Yeah,
it just vaporizes you. The original idea, the United States government was looking for ideas on how to destroy in the least lethal impact, which is ridiculous considering what option we chose. The least lethal impact for destroying these industrial places in Japan. So Japan at that time, in the highly industrial areas, all wood buildings. Everything's wood. So like, why don't we just light the place on fire? We're like, well, how do we do that? So this one guy came up with the idea of strapping.
Didn't we do this? We actually did it to one of the cities, didn't we? Did we like burn a whole city?
Yeah, we're using, like, one of the ideas was with bats.
Bats?
Yeah, we wanted to strap essentially pyrotechnics to bats. And the bats would go in and they'd go to like areas to like house themselves, and you just light the whole place on fire.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Well, it'd be less lethal.
Right.
But then individuals in the military industrial complex during the Manhattan Project, when all this was going on, we were trying to get the edge technologically. They're like, why don't we just test the bomb on it? Like, are you kidding? Did you see what that just did in the middle of the desert? Like, you can still see, I'd say from 50 miles away on the backdrop of the Trinity test site where you have the mountain, in front of it is this huge circular pit, completely whitewashed. And you can see that it's depressed in the distance. This thing completely eradicated everything in the area. Some guy's like, well, why don't we just use that on people? Dude, go with the bat option. Yeah. Burn the city down. Fire is slow moving. This is just pure vaporization. Now, we've seen in slightly modern day what happened up in Montana or Wyoming with our, what the hell are they? The nuclear silos.
Yeah. Is it? It's the white. It's not white. Isn't it white something?
It's white something.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. But up there, we were doing a test. Well, who shows up? Well-recorded event of extraterrestrial craft showing up and shutting the entire test site down. All the computer systems, everything. Someone is always trying to tell us stop messing around with this stuff. And when we started the development of things within the Manhattan Project itself, after we did like really dirty radio technology here in the early days in New Mexico, the amount of sightings of craft showed up tremendously because they knew we were messing around with something that was incredibly dangerous.
Right.
So the gentlemen, Oppenheimer and Einstein, where is it that we take such a gigantic leap in our understanding of theoretical physics and be able to create devices or new energy devices? That's essentially what it is, this new energy device, and also turn that thing into like a bomb. Where does that come from?
And you got to think of the year. Like, what did our cars look like in 1940?
Yeah. This is like 15 years after Prohibition. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
100%.
We had like shitbox Chryslers and Plymouth cars trying to drive around.
And everybody's wearing hats and suits.
Everyone's always in their skinny ass tie and stuff like that. Pants were up really high around the waist.
Yeah.
Everything's oversized.
And we create a whole new way of energy.
Where does that show up? Like, we're still doing a lot of old school stuff. Like 35 years prior, it was the 1800s.
Gunpowder.
Yeah. And then we're now splitting the foundation blocks of life apart. Where does somebody, a scientist, get the impulses to understand that? And this leads us into what we want to talk about today, is that there was a document that was released. And Jason, what's the name of this document?
I have it right here. So what happened was, let me preface it this way. In 1992, there was a mysterious bundle of papers that arrived at a post office box. Love the post office box. With a guy in California named Timothy Cooper.
Okay.
And so Cooper passed these papers on to his father and son, and he passed it on to a UFO research team named Robert and Ryan Wood on the 11th of October, 1998. So this guy had him since 1992, these mysterious documents.
Yeah.
And then in 1998, he passes on. And then they go to the Omega Communications UFO conference.
Run by MUFON?
Yeah. And they released these top secret government documents. Now, in this was a treatise, and I sent it to you today. You can go online and look at this PDF on extraterrestrial life.
Yeah.
Actually talked about extraterrestrial life, celestial beings, and it was co-authored by Albert Einstein and J. Robert Oppenheimer.
Right. Both of them, physicists from Princeton. Beautiful school, by the way.
Mm-hmm. And the top secret paper dated June 1947 addresses concerns about the changes needed to be made in order, listen to this, because they knew that UFOs and extraterrestrials were coming down and visiting their test sites. They're in the heat of it.
Yep.
So they're hearing it from their scientists. They're hearing it from the military, industrial company. They're hearing it from everywhere. Roswell incident, list goes on and on. So they say, how are we going to deal? This is what they put in the paper. How are we going to deal with extraterrestrial biological entities?
EBEs, right?
Yes. And then they want to propose a law among planetary people.
Okay.
And that would recognize other intelligence beings as sovereign. So they wanted to say, hey, obviously they're part of the military industrial complex, but they probably had concerns and they voiced them. Einstein, I know, voiced them. I don't know. I mean, Oppenheimer was reluctant the whole time, I think.
Consider this. Einstein theory of relativity.
Mm-hmm.
Ideas about moving faster than the speed of light. He said, where the fuck does this ship show up from? He said, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
He has a very good idea of the stages of what is required in technology and scientific understanding to achieve that. You better treat these folks as sovereign.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because if you don't, you're going to be causing a big old mistake.
Yeah. And Einstein even said that his fear was that the nuclear war would cause tensions between alien entities.
Right. So what is that saying? They knew that these individuals were here, that there's a different set of history that's going on. Why is Oppenheimer quoting the Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Bhagavad Gita talks about these super weapons also.
Yeah, well, we know, I mean, the Oshkosh records and all these different types of ancient manuscripts, they talk about that the water's all screwed up, the land is all black.
Yep.
Atlantis, we know, there was weapons that were used there.
Yeah, same sort of atomic level weapons, right? And then what do? Just vaporize stuff. Ceases to exist. So he's like, if these people are showing up, and is it the consequence of what we're doing? We got to cut it out.
Yeah, and then so they talked about the urgency of unilateral disarmament.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I was speaking with one of the key creators of the Apple App Store,
right?
And with that, this person's very good friends with the guy who came up with the idea of gamification. And with the App Store, and they paired a lot of that stuff with gamification. I'm sorry if I'm boring you.
Why do I do that? I yawn. You know why?
Why?
I found this out. So you always hit me up after I work out at a gym.
Yeah.
And so if I do a hit, and I found this out the other day, I didn't even realize this. If you're yawning a lot after exercising, it's your body needing oxygen.
Fucking start breathing. I
know. Yeah. I try to breathe through my nose and do the nose, like circulations and get my parasympathetic nervous system. But that's what it is. It's just I got my heart rate to 180, for an hour.
Yeah.
So now my body's like, hey, which is good for you, but
breathe. No, but so let me get back to this. So these people created something that we all use today. It's highly influential. But when I speak with these people, what do they tell me? They actually want to dismantle what they've created.
Yeah, all of them do. Yeah.
How weird. How weird that humans, again,
the AI people are saying the same thing. Like, hey, we need to pause.
Yeah.
This is going too crazy.
We go through a process of creating something without thinking it totally through.
Right.
And then we're like, shit, we got to backtrack. You can't.
No.
Sorry. Cat's out of the bag.
Once technology is released, it's on a scaling momentum.
And here's the problem. Who knows what sort of influence these scientists had or people had over these scientists in the military industrial complex? Who knows 100%. What threats or anything else of the sort to say, you're going to build this fucking thing.
Well, we had Epstein. That's a perfect example with the Mossad. I mean, it's all out there. Like he was basically blackmailing. Just came out last week. He was blackmailing Bill Gates. That's why Bill Gates and Epstein were so tight.
Wow.
And then he just got a divorce, Bill Gates. But they found out last week, documents were released in the New York Times from the Virgin Islands that have all these supposed to have thousands of documents on this whole Epstein thing. He was nicely blackmailing because Gates was having an affair with this hot bridge player because he loves bridge. That's like his thing.
Okay.
And so he met this bridge player and she was really hot or whatever. And so that, of course, it's like, so Epstein's like, hey, I need this done and this done, and I know you're really good friends with, you can just
see what I mean?
Super nice.
Yeah. And so this stuff happens. You don't know what sort of perverse incentives are in the way, but Oppenheimer, Einstein are like, we gotta disarm stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can't.
No.
Once you create it and you show people that it can exist, everybody else got to jump on the bandwagon. They're going to use all the brain power in every other country in this stupid idea that we need to have more armament than the next guy.
Well, it's also, you got to look at it this way too. It's like if Russia would have came up with this, because Operation Paperclip, they did their own thing too. They were grabbing these scientists left and right.
Absolutely.
So it's like, if we don't build it, they will. Then you get into this arms race and then everybody loses.
Here's a great idea. Don't build anything.
Yeah.
Then are you a threat to them? No. So what are they going to do? Launch something at somebody that's absolutely no threat?
Well, I never understood, our special forces are so badass, and I know people in that arena. It's like, don't build anything and then go snipe those people out.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Well, you could, but you know why they don't do it?
Because they want the military-industrial complex.
Right. And they want those people because it's easier to have these polarized problems.
And I can say, hey, we need to build this because they're 2 years behind us.
Uh-huh.
So let's get ahead.
It's always a race.
It's always a race.
A race to nowhere.
To extinction.
Mm-hmm. Race to extinction. Very nice.
I heard a guy the other day. Have you ever heard of those Irwin vitamins? You see them, they got the orange label and it's IRWIN.
No, I've actually never seen them.
I see them everywhere I go. Like they're at now supplements, now, all these.
Sure.
And this guy that makes these vitamins, Irwin's super smart. And I never thought of it this way, especially with climate change and stuff like that. And I don't want to get political with climate change. We know what we're doing to the planet. Let's stay the politics out. We know the rainforest is going crazy and all that stuff. He goes, it's like Jenga.
I don't like the way that. I don't even like where this is headed.
But think about that. If you play Jenga, right?
Yeah.
It's like
pull the wrong one out.
It's like, okay, let's see if we can pull this one out.
Don't.
Let's see if we could take 80% of the lungs of the world, which that's what the rainforest is, the lungs of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And let's turn it into cattle farming.
Yep.
Because, and I don't blame the farmers because they're super poor and they can make more money. So let's just take an acre of the rainforest out. Let's do this. Let's make more seed oils. Yeah. Let's just go on and on. So we poked at that. Oh, it came out and the structure's still good.
We're good.
We're good.
We're good. More cows to feed more people.
Yeah. So okay. Well, let's get real scientific. Atom bombs. Okay. Now we're safe, and we dropped 2 on Japan, and now we ended World War II.
We vaporized human beings.
So we took 4 blocks out, and those all slid out fairly good. It started to get a little shaky, but it's still there.
Structure's there.
Isn't that Jenga a great?
That's actually
it's
a really
great analogy. I love that.
Yeah, and it's true that the rainforests are the lungs of the planet, but over 70% of the world's oxygen comes from plankton in the ocean. Wild.
You see in Florida all the seaweed that's they have it on satellites. Like the beaches are covered with seaweed right now.
So weird. They
have these huge blooms. Well, it's because the water warmed up.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then even our chief technology officer the other day, she's like, there's no fish. She's like, I go out, I scuba dive down in the Keys. She lives in the Keys. Mm-hmm. There's no fish. There's just barracudas. That's all there is.
Yeah.
She was saying that on
all the
meeting.
The warm water parasitic fish have come in.
Yeah, she goes all the snappers and all the other stuff that you usually see. None of that. It's just barracudas.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
What do people expect? They just think the Jenga tower is going to keep standing up forever. You know what I mean?
But this is interesting because they talk about that they went to talk to the president about this.
Yeah.
Of the United States, and he had no interest. But
Lyndon at the time?
Probably Lyndon. Was it Lyndon Johnson?
I think so.
Super corrupt. I've read his biographies. There's 4 of them or 3 of them. Secretary of State was George Marshall, and he was a general.
Mm-hmm.
And he had spoke with Oppenheimer, and he came to the same conclusion. So, and it's so funny how, when you were involved in war, you don't want it after you've been involved in it.
Have you been involved in war?
Eisenhower.
Have you been involved in war?
Yes. Don't want it anymore. It's
there we go. So you're a living example.
I think I love the military.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of young people need to go into the military to learn discipline and all that.
Sure.
And we need to defend ourselves. But the industrial complex I don't like. I like the aspects of the discipline, the leadership.
Yeah.
There's amazing things of that nature. And it is cool to play with new technology.
Sure.
But new guns and new NVGs and new drones.
NVGs are cool.
But at the end of the day, what I say all the time, it's you're taking somebody's free will.
All the time.
That's what you're doing. I mean, but George Marshall spoke with Oppenheimer and came to the same conclusion. And Oppenheimer, we know, was here, Los Alamos Atomic Bomb Laboratory.
And his father used to bring him here in the summers up into the mountains. And they had a lodge up there, a cabin. And he fell in love with the place. And that's how they chose to actually start the Manhattan Project out here.
That's so wild.
Because Oppenheimer's like, I really like this place. And it was heavily isolated. Perfect.
And these documents that they came out with, they said that it was a part of the Majestic 12 files. Now, there is, with this document, of course, and with anything, there is saying the document's not real. So I want to make sure we put that out there.
Sure.
Some people said there's misspelling in it or whatever, so the document may not be real.
I misspell shit all the time.
But if it's a memo sent to somebody, you know, I get it. I would bet, if I was a betting man, I would bet that this is real, because Oppenheimer did not want this. Einstein recognized it. They gone through World War II. It's like, we need to shut this stuff down. This is getting out of hand. And you would be that way. You know, and the generals were saying Eisenhower gave his famous speech, and you can go on YouTube and read it, against the military industrial complex. General Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Yeah, but Eisenhower was also visited by extraterrestrials.
Yeah, that's what
from what his daughter says and from what he says.
Yes.
So they just came right up and were having a conversation with him, which leads me to think they probably looked like normal people.
Yeah, 100%.
You're like, oh, who are you? And then, oh, hey, we want to talk to you about, like,
if you're that advanced, could you not have a clone of you in a human body so that it could breathe this atmosphere?
Absolutely.
That's what I think. These are drones. I don't think, and I think there's the bodies, the grays or whatever. I think those are clones or robotics.
I think
that we don't know. You know, like when they dissected those grays.
Well, didn't you and I, we were talking about Neuralink, right? What happens when you do that for an entire body?
Right.
It's a cyborg.
Yeah.
So you're just creating these organic robotic beings to go around and do stuff, right? So why wouldn't you send those down? Why would you send someone down who's not used to our atmosphere, doesn't need any of our viruses or diseases, is not used to our planetary gravity, is not used to the impulse waves that we send out as human beings, which are fucking chaotic and could probably make them sick? Send a fucking drone or a clone.
Yeah, especially if you're like with Elon, with the whole White Sands, if they have a big, huge, like the mothership, why not? Why leave the mothership? They had perfectly engineered food. They had everything to basically probably live forever.
No reason to leave.
So why would you just create? So, but listen to this. This is interesting. Albert Einstein spoke to a journalist about aliens. They asked him about this. This was 1920. Here's what Einstein said on record. There is every reason to believe that Mars and other planets are inhabited. Why should the Earth be the only planet supporting human life? It is not singular in any other respect.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, there's too much probability involved for other life to form in some sort of primordial soup somewhere else in the universe, which is so vastly fucking huge.
And I want to lead us into what the Plaron said, and you have that information, because he said this in the same article. He reasoned that intelligent beings would be more likely to communicate with us through light signals rather than radio waves.
Yeah,
he said this in 1920.
Yeah, and which is honestly, it's a really smart thing. We know that photons, packets of light, carry information in it. There's an information signature. So if we could use light for communication,
right? Fiber
optic cables, right? Super weird, huh?
Well, we had a whole Tartle episode on that with somebody that was...
Right. So you got fiber optic cables, but if you have a regular AM or FM radio wave, it takes time to move. Like an earthquake, right? When an earthquake happens, it has to move through the crust. So these other waves have to move through the membranes of like our atmosphere. But light is borderline instantaneous. Okay? So you're saying that these individuals would not be communicating over vast distances with radio waves. It doesn't work. Think about our satellites we sent up to go do like Voyager. Radio waves. That's why it takes so long to receive the images back. That's why they're in black and white, because it's a binary thing, right? Now, what's interesting here is that many of the ideas which Oppenheimer or Einstein had were very leading, very out of the box, very, how would I put it? High humanitarian values paired with intense levels of specification in knowledge and physics beyond what was normal at that time. They were truly geniuses in their own right, in many different fashions. Now, the Playarin had stated that Albert Einstein was in direct contact with extraterrestrial intelligences. And that in his previous lives...
This is from the Billy Meyer material.
This is from the Billy Meyer material. Said that he was in direct contact with extraterrestrial intelligences and was also an ancient spiritual life form incarnated by them here on Earth. So you get this thing that's really old and smart and chooses to squeeze itself into this human body right now at this specific time. Right? But what happens? All this knowledge, because you forget things when you incarnate again, you lose all the ideas and the learning, so you have to start fresh. But you could be a little bit perverted in your ideas, not in like the sense of a pervert, but ideas get ruined or made worse or used for the worse, even though you're highly intelligent, because you forgot the greater purpose. And so, which is really funny, if you go over to the raw material, Rod stated that information which Confederation sources had offered your entity, Albert Einstein, became perverted, and instruments of destruction began to be created. Examples of this being the Manhattan Project and its product being the atomic bomb. So again, these highly evolved entities come down to try and help, but can get lost along the way. Those are the wanderers. And Ra had always stated that these wanderers, when they show up, the greatest thing is when they remember what they're supposed to do or go on that path. But the majority of them get lost in the difficulty of what it is to be in third density. Kind of crazy. So you get these advanced impulses that come down, these people that are geniuses. Well, it's like, not all of it is truly original thought. It's people coming down with help, getting impulses from some other place, right? Absorbing these and then turning that into the physical reality we have now. You saw it with Tesla. You saw it with Einstein. You see it with probably a whole bunch of different individuals.
Oh, yeah.
Probably most of the major players in history. Mathematicians, poets.
Wouldn't that be funny that being on the spectrum just means you're an ancient being? that reincarnated, that's all it is?
Yeah, that'd be crazy. No, actually, that'd be kind of sick. This guy's on a spectrum. Well, how far? Real far.
Oh, then he's super ancient.
That guy is old as shit.
We need to try to get him to tap into his language.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He was like he was like the head general in Atlantis.
No, but I mean, like, but these are things. But it's interesting to think of these consequences and to be like, scientists who are people that are supposed to be so incredibly objective now take on a very large humanitarian stance when they realize the power of what has been created, because they created it without considering the evolutive or spiritual implications of what they were doing. And then they want to pair it in after the fact. But I still think it's reassuring that they even thought about it after the fact rather than completely ignored it.
I imagine everybody did. You got to think of the time space too. I mean, this is 1940s. This is like, look at the movies and all that stuff in that time frame. And then you have tremendous amounts of patriotism. So there's this part of you that is like, I'm American. We got to be number one. We're, we come out of the Industrial Revolution. We came out of being hungry, the Dust Bowl, Great Depression, stock market crash. And now everything's the World War I, which was absolutely horrific. People's got like shell shock and everything else. You go straight into World War II. Then you come out of that and then a boom hits. So it's like, let's keep this going. Like we've seen the Oppenheimer and Einstein and all them 1920s, they were there.
Yeah.
When people couldn't eat and had no food and was ultra poor. And
so what you're doing, you're going up against this thing where people are starting to feel material wealth.
Yes.
So it's going to have such a significant influence.
And we need to protect that. And I'm smart and I can help protect America.
And then you have these individuals which created this thing, which is like, whoa, when people aren't even considering things about the spiritual.
And this is where I get ticked off with these young peeps nowadays, who's the worst thing that's ever happened to them is they got their latte messed up at Starbucks And then they want to cancel all the Oppenheimer and Einstein and all these people, because you need to put yourself, it's like Jordan Peterson said, a beautiful thing. You don't think that you wouldn't, and I've told you this before, and this is so powerful because I think about this all the time. Don't think that you wouldn't be raising your hand in Nazi Germany. You would be making the symbol and be healthier or whatever, just as everybody else. Don't think that you're that special.
You're not.
You would be giving in. 99.9% of people gave into that ideology.
Absolutely.
And you would be just as pumped and standing there thinking, I'm pure race, giving all into your ego.
They probably would.
Just as anybody else. There are very few people that could stand up against that have the spiritual awareness.
A small amount.
So you sitting in your high horse right now in your university or wherever, never experienced any hardship. And then you're looking at these people who saw family members die of starvation in the 1920s and 30s.
They're going to be, yeah, fuck you, I'll get behind that.
That's and then like, well, this is going to, and then you're like, we went through World Wars. I'll talk about World War II. I know personal people that died in World War II and World War I. And then I can make this device and it stops.
Yep.
It's horrific, but
what do you think they're going to do?
Yeah. And
they're going to build the shit out of that thing.
You got to put yourself in people's shoes. Mm-hmm. That's compassion.
It's empathy.
Yeah, it's empathy. And people don't have that nowadays. They're so cruel and so quick to judge. Raw talks about that. I think being in service to others and part of loving someone is having compassion.
That's the only way you can understand.
You don't know the conscious level of people, and neither is it your responsibility to know that.
No. It's not your responsibility to try and figure that out. It's for people to figure out themselves.
100%.
You just have to be there for them and understand and support them as human beings. Right?
And I would say majority of these people that worked on this were not evil.
I don't think
Einstein was evil or Oppenheimer was evil. Like,
no.
We're going to, I'm going to use my knowledge to blow up. I want to see a whole city blow up.
Yeah, you don't.
They probably made them sick to their stomach when they heard about what happened.
I bet you they were sick to their stomach when the first bomb went off.
100%.
Guess what? You don't need those physicists after the first bomb goes off.
No, they're done. Goodbye.
You're irrelevant now.
Yeah.
We've already recorded all the processes for how you built it. I can get any old Joe Schmo to put it together.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's what they did.
Yes.
And so what do you have? The Santa Fe Institute gets made. Because we're like, we can't do this. We actually have to create a group that is teaching against these sort of systems. And these are the things that start to exist, but albeit very, very tiny, right?
But can't you see what I'm saying, though? That I don't think, like the wonders, it's like your intention is to reincarnate and help and be in service to others. And you get so caught up in this density because it's so easy to do it. We all do it all the time. You get caught up in the reality of the now. And next thing you know, you're off 1 degree. And then that 1 degree over time turns into a bomb.
Right.
But I don't think the intentions, a lot of people's intentions in the past were evil. Now you could get like Vlad the Impaler, psychotic, crazy dude. You can get like George Bush Sr.,
Ronald Reagan,
Clinton, all these people, a lot of these politicians are evil. I think, you can clearly see that.
Sure.
And there's body counts around them.
Ronald Reagan started the largest arms race we've ever known.
Yeah. 100%.
That's a pretty fucking evil thing to do.
Yes. 100%.
He wanted nothing more than war.
Obama, just blowing up people left and right with drones.
Yeah. He did more drone strikes during his time than anyone else.
Yeah. And the amount of people that were blown up around it, just guessing like, oh, here's a wedding party. And there's 140 people there. Well, all these women killed children, everybody's going to be dead. But we got the one guy. So when you look at pure evil, I don't think there's probably a 1%, if even that is like pure evil. I think people get caught up in their ego and emotion.
That's probably what it is.
And then it snowballs. Yeah.
And what about? I know a bunch of scientists. Nobody wants to lose their job.
Yes.
They're like, no, this is me. This is my career. My identity.
Well, professors are this way. Yeah.
Professors are like that. So what do you think?
I want to keep my tenure.
Okay. Yeah. You want me to build a bomb? I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like that. And yeah, sure.
I can give you this paper that I wrote.
Yeah. Okay.
Or this
and
information.
Plus, Manhattan Project, people build shit all the time. They don't even know what it's for.
Yeah.
And then just a very small group assembles it.
Well, look at, even in Las Vegas, look at Bob Lazar. They brought him in from Los Alamos Labs. They bring him in. They say, we're not going to tell you anything about this. Just look at this. What is this?
Correct.
He had no idea, and he couldn't see the other projects. He talks about this. He couldn't see the other projects of what was going on.
No, but
he couldn't talk to anybody else either.
Do you know what he did say? He said, the ship that I worked on, he said, looked remarkably close to the ones that Billy Meyer had over in Switzerland at the Play Art.
Yeah. That's so hilarious.
Oh God.
We got to do a whole Bob Lazar episode.
We should.
I don't know if we've done one or not. I know you know a lot and I know a lot about it. So
I don't know
it
if
would
we
be
have
fun.
done one.
Yeah. I don't think we have either. Because to me, he's probably the most legit in his information. And you got to be pretty crazy psychopathic to have the same lie and get the same details since the 80s. And you lose your family. He lost his wife over it.
It's the same conversation we had with Billy Meyer. Billy Meyer lost his family.
Yeah. I mean, and then you're staying in this truth the whole time.
The whole fucking time.
It led to like he has mental, he said it on Joe Rogan, it's like I have a lot of mental like stuff going. Yeah. And who knows? He could be getting bombarded by entities trying to because they can do that. They can slam your head full.
It's got to be horrific.
What do they Raw talked about that in one of the things where they can kind of.
Yeah. The like negative impulses.
Yeah.
They throw those catalysts down there and you're like, oh, I'll use that. I'll do that.
Yeah.
See visions that are really dark and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we did over an hour.
Oh, I didn't even realize I've just been chilling. You know what I mean?
But this is really cool. I encourage people to watch the movie. It should be pretty badass. It'll be entertaining or whatever, but do some research on it. And I love when movies or TV shows are made about history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
that's the good stuff. And if you get someone that does it so exquisitely, like Nolan,
which I hope that it is. I mean, we'll see it, but
better be.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen The Machine, this is crazy. This is a horrific movie, but it's out right now. It's a comedy. Yep. It's an action comedy by Bert Kreischer, one of the most hilarious comedians out there. But I think it may be inappropriate for some, but
yeah,
check it out.
And you should also check out Higher Density Living's new website.
Oh yes,
and we got a new merch shop.
New shop. We got to bring that up
Everybody loves merch. Yeah. And
you got it on right now.
I'm actually wearing some HDL merch right now. I got an absolutely badass t-shirt on. Pretty stoked about it. Dope design, right? Looks like one of the ships from the Rig Veda, which is that Indian script, right? So
that's legit. Yeah.
If you want something cool, go find something. There's got to be something that fits your personality. And we should stop talking because this has been a long episode.
Yeah, I mean, you can donate.
You can also donate, which is great.
Be a part with. We're not for profit.
Yeah, we're not trying to get rich. I'll tell you that.
No. Yeah, we have sponsors and we spend every dime on the show.
Yeah. How unrich are you and I?
Unrich.
Yeah. The opposite of that.
We're very rich. We're very rich in lots of areas of life.
Yeah.
When money's not that important, it's just energy and a tool. It's information to be used.
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
That's all it is. And with that being said, thank you very much for joining us again here today at Higher Density Living.